How's it going, everybody? CJ here, back with another video. We're going to talk about Innistrad Remastered. We still have a little ways before the set comes out. It drops January 10th, so we'll get spoiler season like at the end of December, but we're going to probably be getting a couple of spoilers soon, at the latest MagicCon Vegas at the end of October, and I wanted to make sure I got this video out before spoilers started coming through. And that's because we're going to be predicting some of the mythics for this set. I'm going to try to actually predict every mythic that will be reprinted in Innistrad Remastered. But before we hop into that, please remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm going to start off with the mythic I think is the most likely card to get reprinted. It would be the biggest chase card for the whole set, and it makes perfect sense to toss in here. And that is Edgar Markov. Edgar only has one real printing in the pre-con from 2017, and then a Judge promo printing, and this is like a $100 card for the base version. The Judge promo is like $200. Like, this is a very expensive card. Edgar is from Innistrad, so not necessarily all the sets that are included inside of the remastered sets are from that exact plane, but the cards have to be from that exact plane. So like with Dominaria Remastered and Ravnica Remastered, there were cards from like core sets or Modern Horizons sets that were included. This seems like a perfect way to reprint Edgar. Edgar's one of the most popular commanders. Vampire's a very beloved tribe. People play vampires all the time. We're probably going to see a lot more people building vampires if Edgar gets reprinted because his price is going to go down and he'll be more accessible. So if you want to build a vampire deck and you need to pick up some vampires and you're hoping that Edgar gets reprinted in this set, I wouldn't be shocked if he does, and I would be looking at the vampires that aren't from the Innistrad block, because those are likely to go up in price if a lot of people end up wanting to build Edgar. So if you want to get ahead of the game, so that way you can build the deck for as cheap as possible, assuming Edgar gets reprinted, then you might want to start picking up some of those vampires sooner than later. Edgar would probably be one of the first cards they reveal for this set, since he's probably going to be the most expensive card in the set. And it's a great way to hype people up for the set just by saying, hey, Edgar's here, and he's got these cool new versions. People are going to like that. If Edgar's not in a set, I would be shocked. Based on the numbers from previous remastered sets and previous Innistrad sets, I tried to come up with an idea for how many of each color that we could expect in the mythic slots. I came to 2 multicolored cards. So the other multicolored card that I think will probably end up in this slot is not really a value reprint, but it's more so just an iconic card, and it would be way too strong to put it in as a rare for the draft environment, and that's Geist of St. Taft. This card is a bomb, super powerful card, and super iconic. Like, a lot of people know this card. This card used to be a house in Modern. Like, Geist is such a popular card that I would be really shocked if it didn't end up in the set, and it really could only be a mythic because of how bomby it is inside the draft environment, so I would expect the other multicolored slot to go to Geist. Moving on, let's talk about the white cards. From what I could find, we should see like 3 to 4 monocolored cards for each color in the mythic slots, and so I went with 3 for the white cards. And the first one I want to talk about is really interesting because I didn't think about this originally, but me thinking about Edgar, like, oh, it's a card not from an Innistrad block. Maybe there's going to be other cards not from Innistrad block that would make sense in a set. And this seems like the perfect set to reprint Greymond. If you don't know Greymond, it's Rick from the Walking Dead Secret Lair, the Universes Within card. It only has the one printing of the Universes Within bonus sheet cards. And this is a very strong card. It's obviously an Innistrad card just based on the art, the character. This card is in the Innistrad plane, so it easily could be reprinted in this set. And it's one of the more expensive cards that I could find that references Innistrad or is from an Innistrad block. And it's one of the better white mythics. It works really well with Innistrad archetypes because humans tends to be an archetype throughout all of the draft environments. It seems like a no-brainer to include this. Plus, it's a really interesting way to start reprinting and bring prices down of those Universes Beyond cards. Seems like a good idea all around. I like it. I think it's a great include. Next up, we have a card that was reprinted relatively recently. However, it's such an iconic card for the plane, and it's still pretty pricey. That's Avacyn Angel of Hope. Avacyn's such an iconic character for Innistrad. Avacyn Restored is one of the sets from the original Innistrad block. I mean, you have to have an Avacyn card in here, and this seems like the best one. The other one is Archangel Avacyn, which I do think could be reprinted in the set. I just don't know for certain there. It's probably one of the two that are going to be in this slot, but I do think it's Avacyn Angel of Hope over Archangel Avacyn. And the third white mythic I think will be in the set. If we don't have two Avacyns, it's going to be Hallowed Haunting. Hallowed Haunting is a very powerful card. A lot of people want it for their enchantment decks. It's a pricier card, and it would make for a great reprint. It would help to drive sales. People would be happy to open this in their packs. Seems like a good include. Now let's move on to the blue mythics. First off, we have Snapcaster Mage. I originally thought this was, oh, it's probably going to be a rare. It was a rare originally. Then I remembered, wait, it got reprinted as a mythic. It'll probably end up staying mythic. So Snapcaster Mage is probably one of the easiest mythics to pick out for this set. I mean, it's like one of the best blue cards from the entirety of Innistrad. There's no reason they wouldn't reprint this card, and it'll probably end up being a mythic to help drive pack sales and stuff like that. After that, blue got pretty difficult. I think Mind's Dilation is a good option. It's not cheap, it'll probably pay for the pack, or close to it, and it's still a bomby card that's pretty fun to play. And the last blue mythic I think will be reprinted in this set is Tamiyo Moonsage. This is not going to be a hit people want, but Tamiyo is a pretty iconic card, especially Tamiyo Moonsage. There's also Tamiyo Field Researcher, but I don't think it's going to fit in because of the number of multicolored cards and such. But Tamiyo Moonsage does fit in. There's not a lot of other good options at blue, so Moonsage seems like the best way to represent Tamiyo in the set. Moonsage hasn't been printed as rare, and so I don't think it's going to get a downshift in this set. So I do believe this would be a third blue mythic. Now we're moving on to the category I had the most trouble with. The black cards. There are so many good options for black mythics. I actually picked out 4. The reason why I went 4 for black is with 3 of every other monocolored, 2 multicolored, 1 colorless, and 1 land, we were able to have 1 extra card, and there's just so many good black options that I threw it in the black. I mean, it makes sense. Innistrad has a lot of great black cards in the history of the plane. The first card I want to mention is Griselbrand. There is no way they make Innistrad Remastered without Griselbrand. Sure, it's not legal in Commander, but it's still a pricier card, and it's super iconic. It sees play in Modern. It's a great cube card. Like, Griselbrand's awesome, and it would be really fun in the draft environment. Innistrad tends to have a lot of good ways to reanimate things, and this would be a primo reanimation target inside that archetype and draft. Perfect. Love it. Easy include. Next up is another massively iconic card. The only reason why I'm a little skeptical on it is because it had a pretty recent reprint that was a very big reprint, and that's Liliana the Veil. It was reprinted in the standard recently, but it's such an iconic card that I just can't imagine that they don't reprint it in this set. It's just so iconic to Innistrad. And I wouldn't be surprised if they just use the original art. And I would love it if they had like showcase cards that were just kind of like full arts. Because a full art Liliana the Veil with the original art and just having that be textless. Oh my god, that'd be amazing. That would be great, great, great include. That would sell packs like crazy. Seems like a good idea. And so I'm picking Liliana in here for sure. That seems awesome. The next card that I could see being reprinted is another very, very pricey card. It's a newer card though, being Meathook Massacre. Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow are both very recent sets, but they're obviously going to be included inside of Innistrad Remastered, their Innistrad sets. And Meathook Massacre seems like the best card out of both sets to be included in this. It's one of the better cards to sell packs. It's a super powerful card, and it just makes sense to be in here. And the last black mythic I thought would make sense to reprint here is Relentless Dead. It's another pricey-ish mythic, and it's a pretty iconic card to the plane. It's a very strong card, cool card to draft, and good with zombie decks, stuff like that. Wouldn't be surprised if there's a strong zombie theme because it's Innistrad. They like zombies in Innistrad. So this seems like a great include. There's some other Black Mythics that I had to consider for this, and we'll go through those after I'm done talking about the cards I do think are going to be in the set, because there's a lot of other options that they have. However, I'm just talking about the ones that I think are most likely. Now let's talk about the Red Mythics. This was by far the most difficult category to come up with 3 cards that I think will be printed as Mythic inside of this set. There's just not a lot of great red Mythics, and especially not great ones to sell packs. Not a lot of money cards in red. The first one I want to talk about is Mirrorwing Dragon. Not like a crazy expensive card, but it's a pretty well-known iconic card for the plane. And it's a cool card, makes for some interesting decks. And it's been a while since it's had a reprint, so it just kind of makes sense. Like, they gotta have something for the Mythics in red, and this seems like a good choice. After that, we have Malignus, another very cool, splashy, iconic card. Not super pricey, but it's a fun card and it'll make for a fun draft deck. And lastly, we have Chandra Dressed to Kill. This one's worth at least the price of a pack, or close to it, so that's nice. And it's a newer card, so I wasn't sure about it, just because we already have some other newer cards that I mentioned and I'm going to be talking about. But it seems like a good include, and it'll give us another Planeswalker in the Mythic slot. All the Planeswalkers in this set are likely to be at Mythic rarity, so this seems like a good usage of getting a Planeswalker into the set, since red is pretty weak to begin with. But we do have a few good green cards that could be reprinted into this set. Starting off, we have the most obvious one, Craterhoof Behemoth. There's no reason they wouldn't reprint Craterhoof in this set. That's a great way to sell packs. Commander players would love to buy packs to try to get that Craterhoof. Throw that in the set. After that, we have Parallel Lives. Due to pricing and not being crazy good in draft, I could see this being bumped up to Mythic. It was recently printed as Mythic inside the Wilds of Eldraine Enchanting Tales cards, so it has a precedent for being printed at Mythic. I could see it being upshifted to a Mythic here. Seems like a good include. And the last green card is Cultivator Colossus. Another pricier card, good for selling the packs. This is a fun card too. It creates some very interesting game scenarios. I like this one a lot, and I'm sure other people would want more copies of it, so it makes sense to toss this in, and it would have to be a Mythic. Now we have one colorless card and one land card that I selected to be Mythics in this set. There were a couple other options for colorless, but ultimately I didn't think that any of the other ones would be worth it and could easily be downshifted. As for lands, there's really no other land that I could see being a Mythic inside of this set. For the one colorless card, we have Emrakul the Promised End. Perfect card for this set. Hasn't been reprinted outside of a Secret Lair, and this thing is pricey. People love this card too, like it's such a bomby card. Emrakul is such a popular character. It's the pinnacle card of a whole arc inside of Innistrad. Like, it makes sense that this gets reprinted. There's also a lot of cool different art directions they could do for like showcases or alternate arts or special foilings with Emrakul. Like, it seems like a good include. Definitely will sell packs. Great card. Needs a reprint. Perfect. And lastly, the one land. It did recently get a reprint, but it's the only land out of everything in Innistrad that I think should be a Mythic inside of this set. Like, the only land that makes sense as a Mythic. And it is a very powerful card. It is an expensive card. It'll sell packs. People want this card, and people need it more and more every day as new support for different tribes get printed. That's Cavern of Souls. It did recently get reprinted, but it makes so much sense to be printed in this set again at Mythic rarity. Let's take a quick look at the cards that I don't think made the cut for Mythics in this set. There's a handful of cards that I think will either just not be printed or will be downshifted because I think that they just don't work as Mythics inside of this set, or they're just not quite chase enough to make sense. We started with multicolored, so we're going to continue starting with multicolored. We have a few cards here. There's Ulrich. It's a very iconic card. It's worth a little bit of money. Maybe it gets downshifted, but I don't think that it can beat out Geist and Edgar Markov as reprints in this set. Anya Falkenrath would be so cool in a draft environment with Madness. Innistrad has a lot of Madness cards. Anya, I do really want to be inside of this set, and I hope gets downshifted. It wouldn't be a crazy card to downshift. It was a Commander Precon Commander. I could see this being downshifted, and it would make a lot of sense inside the set, so I'm hoping that we see Anya in the set as a rare. There's Malik Grim Manipulator. For those of you that don't know, that's Negan from The Walking Dead. Another Universes Within. I don't think that this can make it solely because we already have Edgar as a Mardu white, red, black mythic in the set. We can't have two, and I don't think they downshift this to a rare. So I don't think it's going to get included, but I wanted to mention it. Lind could make sense in here. It's not the best card. However, it's fun commander, and it works well with curses. There's a lot of curses in the Innistrad sets, so that kind of makes some sense. I would love to see it downshifted if it's in there. If it's not, it would have to take Geist's spot, and I think Geist is more likely to be in here. Wilhel's another commander card, but would be very cool inside of a draft environment. Would work really well inside of a zombie deck, inside draft in Innistrad. Like, that's perfect. I think that this could be downshifted to a rare. I would love to see that. Next, we have Olivia Voldaren, another very iconic card, important character to the story. Makes sense that it would be in the set. I can't imagine Olivia not being in the set, but I think it's going to have to be downshifted. I think it would be fine as a rare in the draft environment, and it's worth a little bit of money, so that would be nice. It would be a good rare for the set for pricing purposes, and it just makes sense. I could see it taking Geist's spot, but I really do think Geist will be in the set, and if it is, it has to be a mythic. Geist is just too good to be a rare. The Gitrog monster was another option. It did just get reprinted in the Bloomborough precon, so I think that makes it less likely. I could see Gitrog not making it in though because of the fact that I don't think they printed out rare. They would need to change the ratio a little bit to fit Gitrog in. Like, they would need to take out another red card or a black card from the mythic slots and add in another multicolored, so that way Gitrog can make it in. And that is a possibility. I could see that happening where they just say, nah, Relentless Dead, you're not in. We're going to put in the Gitrog monster, have 3 mythics that are multicolored, even out the single colored ones, because Gitrog is just a important character for Innistrad. It would be tough to print the set without him. So I could see that being a case made and Gitrog making it in that way. And the last one is Huntmaster of the Fells. Another super popular, iconic card for the set. I think this gets downshifted. I think if Huntmaster's in the set, it's at rare. And I think that's a great idea, and it would be awesome for this draft environment. It would be very strong, for sure, but I think that it would be fine. And I do think that it would make a lot of sense. Like, they do want Huntmaster in the set. It would be crazy if they printed this set with no Huntmaster. Now, for the white cards that I don't think make it in as a mythic. There's Avacyn's Memorial. I don't think this makes it into the set at all, honestly. It's fine. It doesn't do anything in draft, though, and it's not really from an actual Innistrad set, but it is definitely something that could be in contention. I don't think it ends up in, though. Archangel Avacyn, as I already mentioned, who could actually make it into the set over Angel of Hope, considering Angel of Hope was reprinted relatively recently in Commander Masters. Archangel of Avacyn also could end up being reprinted as a rare. Mikaeus Lunarch, I'm hoping does not get reprinted again as a mythic. It would be very strong in the set as a rare, like it would be a strong draft card at rare. Mikaeus is an important character though, so we'll be talking about another Mikaeus shortly. Entreat the Angels, there's a whole cycle of miracle cards that are at mythic, and I'm kind of hoping they all get reprinted at rare. I don't think that they would make this remastered set and just have a whole cycle of miracles inside the mythic slots. And from what I can see from previous sets and previous remastered sets, they don't really change some of a cycle and not others of a cycle. Otherwise, I would have put Temporal Manipulation in the mythic slot for blue over like Tameo. So I just don't think that we're going to see Entreat the Angels as a mythic. I'm hoping to see it as a rare. And Gisela Broken Blade. This is a pricier mythic. This thing is actually worth good money. I could see this easily being downshifted to rare. It is on par with a lot of the other rare angels that you'll see that just have keywords, and I think it would be fine in the draft environment as a rare. It would be very good, but I don't think it would be broken. And I do think that they add in Bruna to do the whole meld thing, but I don't think that they need to have Gisela be a mythic. For blue cards, I already mentioned Temporal Manipulation. I think it should be downshifted to a rare, so that way they can have the whole cycle in. If they wanted to, they could keep it and downshift the rest of the cycle and put temporal manipulation in over like Tameo. That would be probably fine. I'd be a little bit surprised if they did that. I'm just hoping it becomes a rare. There's Lear. Lear's just a strong card. Flashback's a pretty popular mechanic that has heavy ties to Innistrad, so Lear makes sense to be reprinted in here. However, I just don't think it works out. It's fine. It's not like a card that I think they're going to try as hard as they can to get into the set. Necro Duality is another one. I don't think it makes it in. It is a very good card. It's a great zombie card. However, I just don't think they use a mythic slot on this, and there's no way I think they reprint this as a rare. And the last one I do think gets reprinted and downshifted to a rare. That's Scab Ruminator. This is a card that is pretty iconic from the original Innistrad set because of the fact that it was a mythic and it just did not perform like some people thought it would. It just wasn't that good. I expect this to be in the set, and I would expect it to be in there as a rare. We had a bunch of options for the Black Mythics. Mikaeus Unhallowed being one of them. It'd be kind of crazy if there's no Mikaeus, so Lunark's more likely. If Lunark gets downshifted, that's fine. I don't think Mikaeus Unhallowed gets downshifted, and it just got reprinted so many times recently that I'd be surprised if they give it another reprint here. They got to give it some time. So I don't expect Unhallowed in this set. Another card that is a Universes Within card is Giza's Favorite Shovel. That's Lucille from the Walking Dead set. I can see that making it into the set because it's just Giza's super iconic character, and Giza's Favorite Shovel is just a fun card to have inside of this draft environment. Like, it's also a fun card name. I can see that being in here. However, they have to make some choices. And I think that if they only do one card from the Universes Within from The Walking Dead, it's going to be Greymond. Toxrill was another option. I don't think they're going to do too many of the newer cards, and so I think Toxrill gets the bump. There's just a lot of black options. Ghoulcaller Giza. There's a bunch of Gizas, Ghoulcaller Giza being one of them, the only one that's really a mythic, outside of like Giza and Geralf, but I think that can be downshifted. And I do think that Ghoulcaller Giza could probably be downshifted or just not included. It's not a big deal if it's not included because there's other Gizas that you could include in the rare slots easily. Then we have Sorin Imperious Bloodlord. This one was an interesting one. I thought about including this because it was very pricey prior to the banning. However, it only became pricey because of a Pioneer deck that didn't come around until like last year. And Wizards was probably close to done with building this set well before the price spike, so it wasn't like such a hot card. However, if they weren't done and it did spike prior to the set being finalized, I could see this having made it into the set, because if it did spike up, it would be a great card to reprint to drive people to buy packs, and they wouldn't have expected the ban to happen at that point, and it would be too late to change it post-ban. And the last one's Tree of Perdition, along with Tree of Redemption. The reason why I think that both of those make it into the set but downshifted is because of the last time Tree of Redemption was reprinted. It was in a master set and it was not worth anything, and people got really pissed off about it, and it's not like a super powerful card. Neither of them are crazy, and both of them could easily be printed as rares inside of the set. They'd be good as rares in the draft environment, but not like anything crazy. So I think both of them get downshifted, and I think that's great. Because more recently, Tree of Perdition spiked up in price due to a Pioneer deck, and that's going to make for a great rare that you can pull. As alternate choices for the red cards, we had Reforge the Soul and Bonfire of the Damned, both of those being the Miracle cards. I could see one of them being in the set and downshifted. I don't think they're both going to be in, but I could see like Bonfire making it in as a rare. Balefire Dragon was an option. This is actually, I think, the priciest red mythic for reprint options. However, it was just reprinted in Commander Masters, and there's already numerous cards that I mentioned that I do think will make it in from Commander Masters. I don't think they just reprint all of Commander Masters into this. Like, they gotta draw the line somewhere. There's certain ones that gotta be in, like Craterhoof Behemoth and Avacyn. I think that Balefire Dragon is one that could easily just not make the cut because of that. Past in Flames, I think that does get reprinted, but as a rare. I don't think it gets reprinted as a mythic. I think it gets downshifted. And Moonveil Dragon. Moonveil Dragon's another mythic that doesn't really have any reprints. It's not worth much though, and I think it would be fine as a rare in the set, and it would make for a cool splashy rare. There weren't a ton of green cards that I had to not include. We have Ishkana, which I expect to be reprinted in the set as a rare. It is going to be one of the more powerful rares, I think. The card's very good, but I don't think it was worth printing it as mythic again here. Maybe it takes a spot of Cultivator Colossus if they really don't want to downshift it, and it's such an iconic card that it makes sense that it would be in the set. So if they don't downshift it, that could happen. But if they do downshift it, it'll probably end up just being a rare in the set. And then Tree of Redemption, which I previously mentioned, same argument as Tree of Perdition. And lastly, there is one other colorless card I wanted to mention that I think could be reprinted as a mythic in the set. I would prefer it be a rare, and I think most people would prefer it to end up being a rare. They'd have to cut like Relentless Dead or something, like the last black card, to be able to make it fit in, and that's Elbrus. Elbrus is a cool card, very iconic, very fun card, but I don't really want to see it as a mythic in this set. So if they do reprint Elbrus, hopefully it's as a rare. That is everything I have for my predictions on what mythics will end up being inside Innistrad Remastered. Let me know in the comments what you think are going to be reprinted, and also let me know if you want to see me break down what I think the rares are going to be. I'll see you next time. Peace out, everybody.